Alien, Romulus. Can I bring back the franchise? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Alien Romulus, the newest film from director Fede Álvarez. Alright guys, one of my favorite horror franchises is officially back. Fede Álvarez is now in the director's chair, and Alien Romulus, without spoiling too much because there is some really interesting stuff in this movie, is about a group of individuals who are trying to escape this planet that is basically being run and basically being put down by Weyland-Yutani, and they try to find a way off this planet, including Rain, who's played by Cailee Spaeny. And in the process, they find this ship called Romulus that's kind of floating above the planet they're on. So what do? They all go up there to find escape pods or cryopods to escape to a planet. Well, as you know, alien movie can't be an alien movie without aliens and facehuggers. So as soon as they board this ship, things start going wrong. One of them gets impregnated, or one of the crew members, if you've seen the trailer, gets impregnated with the alien. The alien gets loose, and all hell breaks loose on this ship. Okay, so Alien Romulus, I think if I remember right, was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. It's been quite a while. It is now August, so things I forget, unfortunately. But this franchise is about 50% good, 50% not good, to be fairly honest. You know, Alien 3 has its fans. Alien Resurrection is pretty bad. The Alien vs. Predator movies are pretty bad. They're fun for what they're worth, but they're still pretty bad. But Alien and Aliens are considered some of the greatest sci-fi horror films of all time. They're directed by legendary directors. And Fede Álvarez came on board. There's also a TV series in the work from Noah Hawley. But this movie was put in place to be almost like a direct sequel to Aliens. But also have Aliens ties as well. But I honestly, Fede Álvarez at this point, between Don't Breathe and of course the Evil Dead remake, automatically garners an automatic excitement in my books for something. And now he's doing Alien, which he can make it brutal and violent and disturbing and all that good stuff. So I was really looking forward to this movie. Couldn't wait to see it. I think I was more excited than most movies of this summer to see this movie. And now that I've seen it, I saw a few days ago this review. This movie is the third best film in the Alien franchise. But my honest review of this movie, it's real good. Really good. If you love Alien and Aliens, you're going to completely fall in love with this movie. Because it takes the franchise and does with it that hasn't been done in a long time, which is make an interesting, fun, down-to-earth, bare-bones sci-fi horror film in the vein of Alien and Aliens, and that is completely okay in my book. I don't need the unfortunate Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I don't need the Alien vs. Predator. I just want a basic down-to-earth horror sci-fi film where a group of individuals, and this movie is very similar to Alien and Aliens in the style and the nature of what it's trying to go for, but a group of people who get put in a situation where they're just trying to survive, and they do things that kind of put them into a place where they're fighting against something that they do not only know, but they're fighting against themselves in the process. And it's a really fun, really entertaining, really crazy, wild ride of a horror film. It really is. It's Fede Álvarez at his best. He's what he's known for doing. And I just completely fell in love with this movie. Does it have an ending where I think it might divide audiences? Possibly. But I love the swings that Fede Álvarez and his co-writer that he's worked with for a while, Rado Sayagas, I think is how you say his name, who also actually directed Don't Breathe 2. But it's a movie that really feels like it takes the material and does an authentic approach to it. It's also a movie similar to Alien where it takes quite a while, probably a good 40 minutes before anything. Actually, I wouldn't say 40 minutes. I would say 30 minutes before anything major happens. It's a lot of setup. And that's exactly what Alien did. Alien didn't really show the alien until an hour into the movie, to be fairly honest. And though this movie shows it a little quicker and it's a lot more brutal, it still has that pace. And that might be a problem to some people. Maybe they want something a little bit different. But I think Fede Álvarez understands what makes Alien tick, what makes the human being tick when it comes to our scared nature, our ability to deal with very disturbing circumstances. I mean, the alien is a bioweapon. It's a weapon that could change the tide of war if they were able to control it. And I won't say too much, but there are things that play into this movie that really kind of harp on that. And I just completely fell in love with it. Like I said, it's a little slow to begin with. It does take some time. And there are some times where I think the alien could be a little more shown. But I think, once again, Fede Álvarez was going for a more alien approach where you don't see the alien as much. So I get that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I just maybe a little bit more. And there's some choices of editing, and there's some choices of acting which don't make a lot of sense. It kind of edits into weird places, especially like near the middle of the film, and when it gets closer to the end of the film. I think it's because it's moving to an hour and 50-minute conclusion. I think it has to make choices that might not necessarily work on the whole. Or I should say work on it like the minute to minute, but as a whole, it definitely does work. So I definitely appreciate that. But it is a little strange. But with that said, I think the movie's setting is absolutely fantastic. It's definitely some, I believe, Oscar nominations work. The fact that they use like alien creatures that were kind of like robotic in a lot of ways, animatronic, were similar to something like outside of, Disney Park or Universal Park, where the animatronics are so lifelike that you actually don't know if it's a person in a suit, which there are aliens that are people in suits. But there's also animatronics in this movie that move like an alien, and I thought that was pretty impressive. And they, Fede Álvarez and his crew, do some really interesting stuff with the face huggers. They do some really interesting stuff with the alien and how the alien works and how it becomes what it does. There's some really cool, interesting concepts. There's some really interesting ideas that really haven't been presented anymore. And I just kind of fell in love with like the fact that they're allowed to expand upon what the alien mythology is and how the alien works and how it does what it does and adjusts the way it does. It's really quite impressive, and like something I didn't even think about until I was watching the movie. It's like, once the alien bursts out of the chest of the person, how does it become an alien so quickly? Like, how does it become that xenomorph so dramatically? Like, it happens so quickly. And this movie actually does a nice job of like explaining that, giving us details about that, which hasn't been really explained before, which I really appreciate. And maybe there's like books or something like that talk about the xenomorphs and how they're structured and their kind of etymology and stuff like that. I think it's etymology or whatever that is, how that works. But I found that really impressive. They do act like aliens. They have the blood, the acid blood. There's some really cool scenes with the acid blood and some of the characters in the movie, which I thought was really cool. There's actually a really cool scene with the acid blood that I won't spoil, but is like one of the most impressive scenes, not only in the movie, but in the franchise in general, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, with that said, once again, I'm not going to spoil anything because people want to see this movie, so I'll leave the spoilers for later. But I think the cast is pretty, outside of a couple people, I think the cast is pretty well-rounded. I think Cailee, Spaeny, who has a lot on her shoulders, who's having to do a lot of Sigourney Weaver style heroine, like action heroine, stuff like that, does a really nice job. She really feels natural. She feels like a natural progression from the Sigourney Weaver character. Archie, Renaux, and Spike Fearn are just like kind of there. They're just kind of like I wouldn't put them in the same boat as like a Tom Skerritt character or like a Bill Paxton, but they're that level where they have some kind of character development, but they're not really like the most major characters and stuff like that. Isabela Merced has some really interesting stuff in this movie, and I won't spoil, but she does some really, really interesting stuff in this movie that really brings us to an interesting point, and it's wild, and I find it fascinating. And once again, it's just the fact that they went for it, the stuff they do in this movie in the third act it's wild. It really is. It's stuff that you'll just go, what am I watching? To be fairly honest. So that's how that rolls. And then we have David Jonsson, who is it's probably in the trailers, and this is a tiny bit spoiler, just be aware. He follows Rain, who's Cailee Spaeny's character, all around this world that they're on, the Weyland-Yutani world, and we find out that he's an android. Well, David Jonsson has to carry a lot of this movie as an android, and what they do with his character makes me think that this is probably one of the best androids in this franchise, better than David from the Prometheus franchises, better than of course I don't know if he's better as Ash or the character Lance Henrik played, but I think David Johansen's the best part about this movie. I think his androidness and how he reacts to everything and how he has to kind of hold his own while having a motive and a program that he has to fulfill, and then the things that start happening and how he has to work into it and what they have to do with his character and how everything starts kind of filing out and kind of fulfilling itself, I thought was really fascinating. He plays a character named Andy, and I think he's just absolutely riveting to watch. He's the best part about the movie, like especially what they do with him. And once again, I'm going around the spoilers on what exactly they do to his character, but just know that like how he starts out and how he ends, there's a lot of fascinating stuff that they do. And there's another thing that happens in this movie that involves him, which you'll be like, oh my god, that's pretty cool. And it's overall, I just really kind of love this movie. It's one of my favorites of the year, which is pretty crazy. Horror films are becoming my favorite thing of this year because there's been so many good ones. But I think this is a movie that has a lot of substance, has a lot of style, has a lot of cool moments, has a lot of disturbing, unnerving moments. It feels like a true successor to the Alien franchise, and I really hope there's a sequel to this movie or something, because it just absolutely delivers on all fronts. And once again, there are some issues with editing, like I said, but it's not going to ruin a really great time at the theater, is the best way to put it. And there's some really cool popcorn buckets out there too, like glow green with the face hugger on it, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is my take on Alien Romulus, which should be in theaters very, very soon. So check it out. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, what do you think of this movie when you see it? Did you like it? Where would you rank it in the Alien franchise? I probably still put Aliens and then Alien and this, just because I think those two movies can't be beat when it comes to what they're doing. But I think this is just a complete winner. But anyways, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.